Have you ever felt like God is ignoring you? Like you're praying, but heaven is completely silent. And the hardest part is you're still believing, but nothing is changing. No answer, no direction, no breakthrough, just silence. And maybe you've started wondering, God, where are you? Because it's one thing to trust God, but it's another thing to trust Him when He feels completely silent. If you've ever wrestled with that feeling, you are not alone. In this video, we are going to look at what the Bible actually says about waiting, silence, and God's timing. Because what scripture reveals might completely change how you see the season. And if you're walking through a difficult or painful season like I am, I pray this gives you real encouragement today. Welcome to Hope from Scriptures. If you are new here, my name is Susie, and on this channel, I share biblical encouragement for Christians navigating chronic illness, pain, and difficult seasons of life. I personally live with sickle cell disease, so I understand what it feels like to pray, to believe, and still feel like God is silent. If you need that kind of encouragement, consider subscribing so you don't miss future videos. But before we talk about what scripture says about waiting, let's first talk about what the silence actually feels like. One of the hardest experiences as a believer is feeling like God is quiet. You're praying, but there's no answer. You're waiting, but nothing is changing. And slowly, a question forms. Has God forgotten me? But this is not a new struggle. In Psalm 13, David cried out, How long, O Lord, will you forget me? Forever? David loved God deeply, yet he still experienced seasons where God felt distant. So if you feel this way, it doesn't mean your faith is failing. It means you are in a very human place, especially when you're dealing with something ongoing like chronic illness. The silence feels even heavier. So, if this feeling is real and even biblical, the next question becomes, what is God actually doing while we wait? Let's look at Isaiah 40, verse 31. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. This verse is often quoted as encouragement, but what many people miss is this: it's written for people who are waiting. The word hope here means to wait expectantly, to trust without seeing immediate results. This tells us something powerful. Waiting is not a sign that God is absent. It is often a place where God is working in ways we cannot see yet. But that leads us to an even deeper question. If God is working, why does it still feel like nothing is happening? Silence can feel like inactivity. But throughout scripture, we see that God often works quietly. Think about it. Seeds grow in silence. Healing often happens in silence. Even Jesus spent years in preparation before his ministry began. God's silence does not mean he is doing nothing. It may mean he is doing something deeper than what you expected. Let me say something that might surprise you. God is often doing his deepest work when you see the least happening. And if you're living with daily pain or symptoms, that silence can feel even more confusing because nothing around you seems to be changing. So if God is not inactive, then what could he actually be doing in this season? During seasons of silence, God may be strengthening your faith, teaching you to trust him beyond feelings, preparing you for what you've been praying for, aligning things behind the scenes. Waiting seasons are uncomfortable, but they are not wasted. Sometimes the silence is not rejection, it is preparation. But here's where many of us struggle the most. We start measuring God's presence by how we feel. If we feel close to Him, we believe He's near. If we feel nothing, we assume He's distant. But the truth is, God is present even when He feels distant. Hebrews 13, verse 5 reminds us, I will never leave you nor forsake you. That promise does not change based on your emotions. So even if you feel nothing, God is still with you. If you are in a waiting season right now, especially if you are dealing with chronic illness or long term pain, I want you to hear this clearly. God has not forgotten you. God has not ignored your prayers. God is not late. Your waiting has purpose, and sometimes the greatest act of faith is continuing to trust God when you don't hear Him. So let's bring all of this together. What does Isaiah 40 teach us about silence? It teaches us that waiting is not empty. that silence is not absence, that God renews those who continue to trust Him. One day, what feels confusing now will make sense. Until then, we hold on to hope. If you're in a silent season right now, comment below, God, I'm still trusting you. I read this comment, and you're not alone in this. And if you're in a season where you are asking, why hasn't God healed me yet? Watch this next video right here, and I'll see you in my next one.